People were unloading boxes from a truck. Who could have imagined that someone could have a replacement that did all the work for him? In another scene, a guy lifted weights at the gym while the balance on his card appeared on his phone screen. This replacement could do anything. Meanwhile, the young man relaxed on a sun lounger at the beach. His dream had come true. He took off his sunglasses and wondered how he had ended up living such a life. Suddenly, a giant dragon attacked the city. The main character fell to the ground, his mouth hanging open in fear. His house was almost completely destroyed, and dead monsters lay scattered everywhere. Placing his weapon over his shoulder, the hunter told his friend to collect the corpses, reflecting on how hard he had worked to achieve such a comfortable life. The monster slammed its paw into the ground with tremendous force. The demon opened its mouth wide and screamed. For a moment, the guy wondered if it was all pointless, if he was doing everything simply to eat and play for his own pleasure. He smiled nervously and assessed the size of the enemy. The monster's eyes glowed. The hunter frowned sternly and ordered everyone to attack, knowing he would never be alone. His squad charged forward. 2 fighters leapt into the air above the enemy's head. The protagonist swung his sword as red lightning crackled around him. The rest of the team restrained the demon. Surrounded by his comrades, the boy delivered a crushing blow, thinking about his special skill, cloning. In a dark room, a monitor glowed. A notebook lay on the desk, and bowls of food sat in the kitchen. The young man reflected on how many things he needed to do in life, and just as many things he wanted to do. He played a computer game, then imagined himself sitting on a cliff, realizing he wanted to travel. He pictured clinking glasses with friends and wished he could spend more time with them. He imagined holding a girl's hand and understood that he wanted to go on dates. A smile spread across his face. He wondered why a person could only do one thing at a time and remembered how he had always wanted 2 bodies. His clone appeared in front of him. His dream had come true. People crowded the busy streets. A bully smirked, boasting that he would definitely gain an amazing skill when he awakened. His companion laughed and said he could use a skill that increased intelligence. Walking along the street, the boy felt exhausted by life and just wanted to get home as quickly as possible. As a crowd passed in front of him, the same thought returned. He really wanted 2 bodies. A man raised a microphone and asked for everyone's attention. An A-class hunter announced that he would oversee the 10th Portal Awakening program. Lightning wrapped around his body as he explained that the government had launched this program to help citizens awaken abilities by crossing a portal. Waving his hand, he wished everyone success and suggested they begin immediately. The first group stepped forward and formed a line. Sonu raised his eyebrows, realizing his turn was approaching. A woman holding documents greeted him and confirmed his number and group. He stated that he was number 7 in the 37th group. She scanned his hand to verify his identity, then pointed toward the portal and instructed him to enter. After leaving all his equipment behind, the young man stepped forward. Bright lightning burst from the black rift. Students gasped in shock. Sonu closed his eyes and reached into the portal. User identification began, and moments later the system announced the completion of registration. He opened his eyes, clutching his head. Pain surged through him, and he realized he had briefly lost consciousness. Everyone found themselves inside a building with drones hovering near the ceiling. Sonu frowned, noticing that many others felt sick as well. Nearby, a girl summoned a fire phoenix and celebrated her incredible ability as guild representatives rushed to recruit her. Someone approached Sonu with a smile, congratulating him on awakening and asking how he felt. He stood up slowly and admitted that he felt unwell. The man assured him it would pass and asked if he had checked his skill yet. A status window appeared before Sonu. His eyes widened in shock. He had obtained the cloning skill the moment he thought about it. However, when he checked his stats, he felt disappointed by how low they were. Curious, he opened the skill description and learned that the maximum number of clones depended on his level and was currently limited to 1. What shocked him most was discovering that there were no special conditions for using the skill. It could even be applied to everyday activities. Show his skill to the officials standing nearby so that they could evaluate it more accurately. The student looked around. A crowd of people had gathered behind him. The boy raised his hand and it immediately turned to stone. The representatives of the different guilds were watching him carefully. The awakened man frowned sadly. The protagonist asked where the exit was. The stranger smiled and explained that before leaving this place, he needed to undergo a final scan and register with the research team. People entered the capsule one by one. White smoke appeared around Sonu. The man sitting at the laptop confirmed his skill and said that the probability of manifesting 1 or more skills was 73%. The employee raised his eyebrows and said that he had registered the cloning skill and that the registration form had been sent to the ID bracelet. The handrails on the bus swung from side to side. The guy looked at his bracelet and thought that everything ended faster than expected. A wave appeared on the small screen. The young man wondered what his new skill was. Clouds were floating above the city. The student entered the apartment and asked if his comrades had done a good job. There were several monitors on his computer desk. A battle was taking place on the screen. The awakened one sat down in a chair. He put his hands on the keyboard and decided to check something. An inventory and a description of the shield appeared on the screen, which the player did not like very much. The main character lay down on the bed and said that he did not care. Staring at the ceiling, Sonu thought about the fact that the popularity of games was falling anyway and decided to hope for the release of some new game. Putting his hands under his head, the guy remembered that he needed to pay for tuition and rent, and wanted someone else to get a job instead of him. The young man jumped out of bed and remembered his skill. He looked at the ID bracelet and decided to check its effect. The student stood in the center of the room. Waves of light energy appeared around him. An aura enveloped his body. The awakened one opened his eyes wide and used his skill. A blue haze flew out from his chest. The gamer opened his mouth in fear and screamed. A thick cloud of energy appeared in front of him. A bright light appeared inside him. The flash lit up the room. Someone lowered their hand. Smoke flew around his feet. An exact copy of the protagonist appeared in the room. Sanu raised his eyebrows in surprise. A white haze enveloped the double's naked body. He stood firmly on his feet. The guy raised his hand. The young man's eyes widened in surprise and asked if it was really a clone. His exact twin raised his eyebrows and confirmed it. The student approached him and asked if he could touch him. The copy allowed him to do so. The awakened one frowned tensely and thought that he was too embarrassed. He slapped himself in the face to come to his senses. The gamer grabbed the double by the shoulder. The protagonist opened his mouth in shock and realized that this was a real physical body, not an illusion. A white haze covered the groin of the completely naked clone. Sanu smiled and said that he needed to put something on first. There was a wrinkled sweater on the floor. The twin put it on. The guy remembered that he could give him orders. The young man thought about asking him to sit down, and the copy immediately did so. The student smiled and realized that he didn't even need to say the orders out loud. The double stood up when the awakened one mentally asked him to do so. Then the clone sat down a few more times. His face was covered in beads of sweat due to fatigue. The gamer put his hand to his chin and decided that he had the same stamina as him. The phone vibrated in his pants pocket. The protagonist took it out and saw messages from his comrade. A conversation appeared on the screen. Gyando said that he had 2 hunter skills and asked his friend to answer him as soon as possible. Sanu started texting while his twin tried to catch his breath. In the chat, his comrade assumed that he had received some stupid ability and began to laugh at him. The guy frowned in displeasure and called him a real chatterbox. Suddenly, a message appeared in front of his face saying that his stamina had increased by 1,000th. George was standing on the roof of the building. He was the owner of the Flicker skill, an S-class ranker who became the first person to pass Odin's tower, which no one had been able to conquer before. The elevator doors in the main building of the Enlightenment Group opened. A guild employee entered the office and reported that at the moment, according to the analysis, 80% of the population of 300 million people were awakened. The guild leader asked how long it would take for 100% to awaken. The girl looked at the tablet and explained that given the number of participants in the awakening program, they could expect it within the next 5 years. Looking at the city, the jumper decided that it was not that long. George was standing by the panoramic window. A giant skyscraper rushed into the sky. The protagonist went for a run. His face turned red and was covered in beads of sweat. The athletes sitting on the bench noticed him. One of them assumed that he would soon faint because he was running in such clothes. Sanu sat down on the bench. Someone handed him a bottle of water. The stranger smiled and offered him a drink before the next lap. The guy opened his mouth but remained silent. At that moment, the young man got up from the bench and ran on. The woman looked after him and assumed that he was just an introvert. The student ran through the park. At home, he woke up and stood on the scale and saw that he weighed 78 kilograms. The slimmed-down gamer pursed his lips. His body became a little more athletic. Scratching the back of his head, the protagonist realized that he had lost 9 kilograms this month despite the constant feeling of hunger, and thought that he was doing nothing and his body was getting better day by day. Sanu looked at the notifications about the increase in characteristics and decided that it was not for nothing that they say that skills come from a person's hidden desires. The guy sat down in a chair and remembered that he had learned something while using clones. The young man imagined how he hit his copy and how it ran around the park, and concluded that its pain and fatigue were not transmitted to him. After an exhausting run, the double melted into thin air. Clones disappear if they receive damage or spend energy above the limit. The student looked at his twin. Its appearance directly depended on the appearance of the owner. While the awakened one lay on the bed, his copy continued to exercise despite the large distance between them. The gamer clenched his fist and ordered the double to use his skill, but this was impossible. The protagonist closed his eyes and thought that this was quite logical, since otherwise he would have an infinite number of clones. Some time ago, Sanu was sitting at the computer in complete darkness. The Hunter's wiki appeared on the monitor. The boy raised his eyebrows and realized that he never thought this day would come. A search bar appeared on the main page. It turned out that there were normal and special stats, but most awakened ones only had normal ones, and that the method to unlock special stats was still unknown with a few exceptions. A status window appeared in front of the boy. His stats increased slightly. The student smiled and thought that he was able to raise his stats so quickly because the clone was training non-stop and doing everything possible to fulfill this order until he reached the limit. The awakened one put his hand behind his head and wondered if this meant that he could double the points he got if he moved with it. The gamer picked up a flyer for a gym. The flyer said that this gym provided a personal trainer and a full range of exercises. The protagonist looked up from the flyer. A battle was taking place on the computer screen. Sanu smiled and